In terms of wide receiver, I've hinted at this guy a lot and bringing up my cross check, and that's Juju, wide receiver 8 right now. You have him even over DeAndre Hopkins, one of the greats to do it over these last few years, which is pretty damn bold.
Confidently ahead of DeAndre
Oh,
Hopkins.
let's hear it. What has you so confident on Juju over DeAndre? I love it.
I mean, Juju was like a borderline first round pick last year. The whole argument against him is based on unfortunate injury situations and recency bias. You know, he has. I mean, again. I love betting on quarterback and pass catcher connections. You know, established, demonstrated connections. And how many has Ben Roethlisberger even completed a pass in his career to Deontay Johnson? I'm not. I'd have to go look at that. Um, and he's completed a shit ton to JuJu Smith Schuster, who by the age of 23 had more yards than any receiver in the history of the league, and is in his contract year at age like 22. I mean, he was just became legal to drink. I mean, he's I think he's a phenomenal talent who ran into just a horror. I think he was a great fantasy pick. I don't think there was anything wrong with the process last year. This game is about targets, bro. This game is about targets so much. And JuJu Smith-Schuster could lead the NFL in targets. I mean, he's in the mix to as one of those guys that could. I don't care about people say, oh, he's not that good. Oh, he was a creation of Antonio Brown or something like that. Like that does not matter. What matters is how many times is he going to get the ball, and he's going to get the ball a lot from Ben Roethlisberger. And that's like pretty much the end of the analysis. You know, that's end of tweet. This dude could get 170 targets, and I want guys like that on my team.
I think my lower ranking of him is less a reflection on Juju as it is more so. I don't know if I have faith in Big Ben. I mean, the couple pictures I've seen of this dude, he looks horrendous. He's fat. He's out of shape. His beard was like ridiculous just a few months ago.
That's the downside. Although,
and
did you see the new pictures of him? It looks like he went and got a haircut and got a real job. And
I love that whole tweet where he's like, "Yep, I'm back. I cut my hair and I'm back."
Yeah.
But it's like, ultimately,
he doesn't look like Grizzly Adams anymore.
Exactly. So I guess I instilled a little more faith, but it's ultimately like, I mean, his arm just fell off out of kind of nowhere last year. He's 38. Not to say that that's just, it could have been a complete fluke, but if that happens again, then suddenly what happens to Juju? It's clearly last year it didn't work out for him, unlike, DeAndre Hopkins, who has made magic out of TJ Yates and friggin' nobodies his entire career outside of Brock Osweiler. It seems pretty QB proof to me. And Juju just didn't seem like to be that level of guy. And maybe he is. And if Ben stays healthy all 16, then I am way too low on Juju. I'm going to be looking like a complete moron because he will be in that top 12, 15. And he came out and said, I've got alcohol problems. I've been beaten off every fucking day, like whatever his quote was. Like, I don't know.
Alcohol problems, don't we all?
Yeah, well, of course. I mean, we've been pounding beers this entire podcast, so like, totally. But I'm not on an NFL field chucking the ball down the field 100 times. I don't know. It's more a reflection. My lower is on my lack of faith right now in Big Ben coming back and actually sustaining what he used to be. If he does, I'm going to be dead wrong. But to me, I'm going to bet on a talent like Hopkins that has just got it done with jack shit in his career and now gets the Kyler Murray that I guess you're a little lower on in the industry, but a lot of people are just like, this is the next guy to rise up. But you keep talking about that continuity of the offseason, and that could be a big factor is building that rapport, not having that already established. Is that kind of what has you a little bit lower on DeAndre, is not being in this offense and now this whole weird offseason? Or what's your take there?
For sure. Yeah, for sure. I mean, he's got to learn a new offense in an off-season-less year. He's got to learn how to, I mean, I just think the situation is very similar to what happened in Cleveland last year, where everybody was anticipating this leap from Baker Mayfield. I think warrantedly, I was expecting a leap from Baker Mayfield, and I screwed up on Odell Beckham. I had him as I think the number 3 overall receiver. And I think DeAndre Hopkins right now is the wide receiver 3 in FFPC ADP, or wide receiver 4. I think he just did get recently passed, and now he's the wide receiver 4. But I think that DeAndre Hopkins is to Odell Beckham as Christian Kirk is to Jarvis Landry. Jarvis Landry had a hell of a year. No one talks about how great of a year Jarvis Landry had last season. And Kyler Murray has that established connection with Christian Kirk. I know Christian Kirk sort of fell below breakout expectations last year, but I mean, he got banged up a little bit, and he had 4 or more catches in 10 of his 13 games. So Kyler was looking for him. And I think that, I think that the answer is to fade DeAndre Hopkins, certainly at his ADP, and we have him way low, but below his ADP. I mean, if he's wide receiver 4, right, we have him at wide receiver 10, I think, or maybe even lower than that. And then you buy Christian Kirk, who I think is this year's Jarvis Landry. They even play similar positions. Like Christian Kirk and Larry Fitzgerald are going to be the slot receivers in the Cardinals' 4 receiver sets, and DeAndre Hopkins is going to be outside. DeAndre Hopkins lived as a back shoulder and contested catch receiver. When have we seen Kyler Murray really, kick it with a back shoulder contested catch receiver? I wouldn't say CeeDee Lamb was that. CeeDee Lamb was a guy who dominated after the catch and in the slot. And then who was the other guy? Marquise Brown was a deep threat. So, I mean, DeAndre Hopkins is going to be the number one guy. I do a shy away 40 every year, 40 guys to fade. Just don't, just draft around them. Let other people take them. And DeAndre Hopkins might be the number one guy. I mean, I think he's a horrible pick at wide receiver 4.
And as much as I want to go to bat for him right here, I often am finding myself taking a running back or another receiver over him anyways. But I am just hoping, that in an offense that targeted the wide receivers almost 70% of the time, they get this alpha that could just, behind only Tyreek and deep touchdowns.
Well, and they're also a very run-friendly team. They didn't pass. They were 22nd. Maybe they'll jump up to 14th in offensive plays. They're an elite running team, though. I mean, they're going to run the piss out of the ball because they're really, really good at it. They spread their offensive linemen out, so they create inherent gaps. And Kenyon Drake just explodes through those gaps. Kyler will run it. I mean, they're not going to lead the NFL in pass attempts. I mean, they're going to be balanced, I think, largely from a run pass ratio. And DeAndre Hopkins is going to be a decoy a lot on the outside in that offense.
And I will admit too, after reading your team preview on the Cardinals, I already was high on Drake. I had him above DeAndre Hopkins. I had him as a fringe first rounder. I think I moved him up to 8 or 7 even on my big board. I already loved him, and then I saw those type of stats that kind of justified what I was seeing even more so. So I love that Arizona Cardinals team preview. That was a fantastic one. What is up, you fantasy wolf? Thanks so much for tuning in. If you haven't already, share your thoughts in the comments, check out some more videos, and join the newest Wolfpack by subscribing below.